Rich man laughed at the janitor in the hangar. Without dreaming, she was the owner of his jet. Jennifer Anderson gripped the mop tightly as she inspected the gleaming floor of the hangar for the 10th time that morning. Working as a janitor at the New York Executive Airport wasn't easy, but she had very specific reasons for being there that went beyond needing money. That's when firm footsteps echoed through the hangar, and Richard Thompson appeared, dressed in his impeccable Italian suit, surveying everything around him as if he owned the world. He looked directly at the puddle Jennifer had just dried, and with a mocking smile, stepped right in the middle of the wet spot, deliberately spreading dirt. "Oops, how careless of me," he said, laughing loudly. "But don't worry, young lady. People like you are used to dirt anyway, right?" Jennifer felt her blood boil, but she kept her eyes down, feigning shyness. She knew exactly who that man was. Richard Thompson, the new owner of the aviation company he had bought for a ridiculous sum after... "Hey, did you hear me?" Richard clapped his hands in front of her face. "When the boss speaks, the employee answers." "Sorry, sir," Jennifer murmured, kneeling to clean again. "I'll fix this right away." "That's more like it." He crossed his arms, watching her work. "You people need to know your place in the world. I built an empire while people like you... Well, people like you clean what I built." What Richard didn't know was that Jennifer knew that hangar very well. She had played there as a child, running between the aircraft, while her father, Anthony Anderson, ran the most respected aviation company in New York City, a company that had been destroyed by lies, sabotage, and betrayal. A company Richard had acquired after Anthony fell ill and lost everything. "Mr. Thompson," Mrs. Patterson's voice echoed through the hangar. The cleaning supervisor hurried over. "Do you need anything?" "Just checking on the new girl's work," he replied, still staring at Jennifer. "I hope she understands we don't tolerate laziness here." "Jennifer is one of our best workers," Mrs. Patterson defended, even though Jennifer had only worked there for 3 weeks. Jennifer. Richard repeated the name as if it were poison. Pretty name for someone so simple. Jennifer swallowed the humiliation once more. Every word from him felt like a stab, but she had to keep up appearances. For months she had planned this moment. Getting the job in the hangar, using documents with a fake last name, had been just the first step in a much larger plan. "Barbara, I want her to clean my office today," Richard ordered. "And it better be perfect. I have an important meeting this afternoon." When he walked away, Mrs. Patterson sighed. "Don't mind him, dear. That man thinks money is everything in life." "Was he always like this?" Jennifer asked, pretending innocent curiosity. "Worse." Barbara lowered her voice. "Ever since he bought poor Anthony Anderson's company, he's become a monster. That man was a real boss. Respected everyone here." Jennifer's heart clenched at the mention of her father. Anthony had fought aggressive cancer while trying to save the company from Richard's attacks. Both battles had been too much for him. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. A few hours later, Jennifer pushed the cleaning cart down the hallway leading to Richard's office. Her hands trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from suppressed anger. She had grown up hearing about integrity and honesty from her father. Anthony always said true success came from hard work and respecting people. The office was ostentatious, with expensive furniture and paintings displaying aircraft. On the main wall, a huge photo showed Richard next to what had been Anthony Anderson's personal jet. The irony was too bitter. Jennifer began cleaning methodically, but her eyes were alert to every detail. She needed to find something, anything, that proved the irregularities her father had mentioned before he became too ill to fight. "What a coincidence to find you here." The voice made her turn quickly. A middle-aged man, well-dressed, but with a more understated appearance than Richard, stood at the door. He had graying hair and kind eyes. "Sorry, sir, I'm cleaning the office," Jennifer explained. "Don't worry. I'm Jonathan Baker, the company lawyer." He approached, studying her curiously. "You remind me of someone, but I can't place who." Jennifer's heart raced. Jonathan had been her father's lawyer for years. If he recognized her, "Must be your imagination, sir. I have a common face," she replied, avoiding direct eye contact. "Maybe." Jonathan stopped near the desk. "I just came to grab some papers. Is Richard not here?" "He left for a meeting." Jonathan picked up a folder, and as he turned to leave, murmured something that made Jennifer tremble. Anthony Anderson had a beautiful daughter. She'd be about this young lady's age now. When he left, Jennifer had to steady herself against the desk. Did the lawyer suspect something? Was it too risky to stay? But then she saw something that made all her fears vanish. On Richard's desk, half hidden under other papers, was a document mentioning Operation Anderson. She quickly snapped a photo with her phone before she could read the full contents. What she saw enraged her. References to a smear campaign orchestrated against Anthony Anderson, including bribes to journalists and clients. Richard had systematically planned the destruction of her father's company. "What are you doing?" Richard's sharp voice made her jump. He stood in the doorway, eyeing her with suspicion. "Cleaning your desk, sir," she replied, forcing her voice steady. "Cleaning or snooping?" He stepped closer, gathering the papers nervously. "Just cleaning, sir. Sorry if I did something wrong." Richard studied her for a tense few seconds before dismissing his suspicion. "Finish up and get out, and next time don't touch my documents." "Yes, sir." When Jennifer left the office, her legs were weak. She had proof, but she needed much more for justice. And now Richard was suspicious. In the locker room, she found Mrs. Patterson organizing the cleaning supplies. "How was it in the boss's office?" Barbara asked. "Difficult," Jennifer admitted. "Mrs. Patterson, can I ask you something about Mr. Anthony Anderson?" Barbara stopped what she was doing and sighed deeply. "He was a special man, dear. Treated all of us like family. When he got sick," she shook her head. "It was so sad to see that good man torn apart by that wicked Richard." "What exactly happened?" "Richard spread horrible lies about Anthony's company, said he was embezzling money, that the planes weren't properly maintained. All lies." Barbara's voice rose. "But people believed it. Clients cancelled contracts, banks cut off credit. The poor man couldn't defend himself because he was in the hospital getting treatment." "And his family?" "He had one daughter. Jennifer, her name was." Barbara wiped a tear. "Poor thing, lost her father and everything he had. They say she disappeared after the funeral. No one knows what happened to her." Jennifer turned away to hide her emotion. Hearing Mrs. Patterson talk about her as if she was someone else was surreal. It must have been so hard for her. "I imagine so. Anthony spoke of her with such pride. He said she had a degree in business administration, that she would help run the company. What a bright future lost because of that man's cruelty." That night, Jennifer went back to her small rented apartment with her mind racing. The photo she had taken was just the tip of the iceberg. She needed access to more documents, but Richard was growing suspicious. She called the only ally she had outside the hangar, Dr. Howard Miller, her father's former doctor. Howard had been more than just a physician to Anthony. He was a close friend who knew the whole situation. "Jennifer, it's so good to hear your voice," Howard said when he answered. "How's the plan going?" "Complicated, Doctor. I got some proof, but I need much more. And Richard is starting to suspect." "Are you sure you want to keep going? It's too risky." "I'm sure. I need to clear my father's name and prove what that man did." "Then be very careful. Men like Richard are dangerous when they feel threatened." The next day, Jennifer arrived at the hangar determined to be more discreet. But she had barely started working when she heard voices coming from Richard's office. He was in an important meeting, and she recognized the voice of Jonathan, the lawyer. Taking advantage of the fact that Mrs. Patterson was on the other side of the hangar, Jennifer moved closer to the partially open door and caught fragments of the conversation. "Those old documents from Operation Anderson need to be destroyed," Richard was saying. "Wouldn't it be better to keep them as insurance?" Jonathan asked. "I don't want any traces if someone finds out what we did." "You're being paranoid, Richard. It's been years, and no one has suspected a thing. His daughter disappeared, but what if she comes back? What if she knows something?" Jennifer felt her blood run cold. They were talking about her. "Jennifer Anderson was just a spoiled girl," Jonathan replied dismissively. "Without her daddy's money, she's probably struggling to survive somewhere. She's no threat. Even so, I want to eliminate any evidence." "As you wish, I'll arrange for the files to be destroyed." Jennifer quickly stepped away, pretending to work as the men left the office. Her heart was pounding. They were going to destroy the evidence. She had to act fast. But how? Richard was paranoid. Jonathan was clearly involved in the conspiracy, and she didn't have enough allies. Then she noticed a young girl watching her from a distance. The girl was about 16 with dark hair and a sad expression. Jennifer had seen her a few times around the hangar, always with Richard. The girl hesitantly approached. "Hi," she said softly. "You're Jennifer, right? The new janitor?" "Yes, I am. And you are?" "Emily Thompson, Richard's daughter." Jennifer had to use all her willpower not to show her surprise. Richard's daughter was standing there, looking unhappy and wanting to talk. "Hi, Emily. Is everything okay?" "Actually, no," the girl admitted, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "Can I ask you a weird question?" "Of course." "Do you think it's possible for someone to change? Like if they've done really bad things, can they regret it and try to make things right?" Jennifer studied the young face, seeing genuine anguish there. "I think it depends on the person and how bad the things they did were," she answered carefully. "What if the things were really, really bad, like ruining other people's lives?" Jennifer's heart raced. What exactly was Emily talking about? "Why are you asking this?" Emily hesitated, biting her lower lip. "Because sometimes I hear my dad talking about things that confuse me. And do I think he's done horrible things?" Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Before Jennifer could respond, Richard's voice echoed through the hangar. "Emily, what are you doing here?" The girl turned around, clearly nervous. "Just talking, Dad." "Talking to the janitor." Richard approached with an irritated expression. "You have more important things to do." "She's nice, Dad. There's no harm in talking." "Yes, there is." Richard eyed Jennifer suspiciously. "And shouldn't you be working instead of distracting my daughter?" "I'm sorry, sir. The young lady just said hello." Jennifer lied to protect Emily. "Emily, let's go. Now." Richard grabbed his daughter by the arm. "And you," he pointed at Jennifer, "stay away from my family." As they walked away, Jennifer saw Emily glance back with an apologetic look. The girl clearly knew something important about her father's activities. That afternoon, Mrs. Patterson approached Jennifer with a worried expression. "Sweetheart, I need to warn you about something." Richard ordered an investigation into all the new female employees. Jennifer's stomach churned. "An investigation? How?" "Documents, references, background. He suspects something." Mrs. Patterson lowered her voice. "Are you in any trouble? Are all your papers in order?" "Yes, they are," Jennifer lied, knowing the fake documents she'd obtained wouldn't hold up under serious scrutiny. "Good, but stay alert. That man is capable of anything when he feels threatened." That night, Jennifer couldn't sleep. The investigation would uncover her true identity in a matter of days. She needed to drastically speed up her plan or lose her only chance to get justice for her father. Dr. Howard called the next day with troubling news. "Jennifer, a private investigator came asking questions about you. Said it was for a labor case, but I didn't buy it." "What did you tell him?" "That I didn't know your current whereabouts, but they'll find out soon. You need to leave." "Not yet, doctor. I'm too close to getting the evidence I need. And if they find out who you are before then, I'll take the risk." In the hangar, the tension was palpable. Richard paced back and forth, clearly agitated about something. Jennifer tried to work normally, but felt his eyes on her constantly. Then Jonathan appeared with a thick folder under his arm. "Brought the old documents you asked for," he told Richard. "Should we dispose of them today?" "Yes. Have them incinerated." Desperation gripped Jennifer. Her only chance for proof was about to be destroyed. She had to do something. Anything. "Excuse me," she said timidly. "Mrs. Patterson asked me to clean the meeting room. May I go in?" Richard eyed her suspiciously but motioned for her to proceed. Jennifer pushed the cleaning cart, her focus locked on the folder Jonathan held. Inside the meeting room, she pretended to clean while watching the two men through the glass door. They placed the folder on a table and began reviewing the documents. Jennifer saw papers, photos, and what looked like recordings. Her father had mentioned recordings in his last lucid days, said he'd taped important conversations as protection. Had Richard found them? Jennifer. A soft voice made her turn. Emily stood at the door, checking that her father couldn't see her. "Hi, Emily. I need to tell you something important," the girl whispered. "But not here. Can you meet me in the parking lot after work?" "I don't know if that's a good idea. Your dad, please, it's about the bad things I mentioned yesterday. I think you need to know." Jennifer hesitated. It was risky, but Emily seemed genuinely distressed. "All right, what time?" 6:30. I'll be in the blue car." When Emily left, Jennifer turned her attention back to the room where Richard and Jonathan were still reviewing documents. Suddenly, she saw Richard pick up what looked like a flash drive and show it to Jonathan. The two said something she couldn't hear, but their expressions were of relief. At 6:30, Jennifer met Emily in the parking lot. The young lady was visibly nervous, constantly looking around. "Thank you for coming," Emily said as Jennifer got into the car. "I didn't know who else to talk to. What's going on? I know who you really are." Jennifer felt the world stop. "What do you mean?" "You're Jennifer Anderson, daughter of Anthony Anderson, the man my father destroyed." There was no point in denying it. If Emily knew, others would find out soon too. "How did you figure it out?" "I looked up your name after you seemed familiar. I found old photos of your father's company where you appeared." Emily began to cry. "And then I started putting the pieces together. The conversations I overhear at home, the documents my father keeps. He really did all that, didn't he?" Jennifer didn't know what to say. She was being comforted by her enemy's daughter. "Emily, he ruined your father's life, and now you're here trying to prove it." The young lady wiped her tears. "I want to help you." "Why?" "Because I can't live with the guilt of knowing what my father did anymore. He may be my father, but what he did was horrible." Emily opened her purse and pulled out a flash drive. "This has recordings he keeps in his office safe. Recordings of him planning how to destroy your father's company." Jennifer took the flash drive with trembling hands. "Emily, are you sure? If your father finds out..." "He's already figured out other things. Yesterday he asked me if I'd spoken to you. I think he suspects I know something." "Then why are you doing this?" "Because it's the right thing to do, and because..." Emily hesitated. "Because I admire you. Losing everything and still having the courage to fight for justice. I wish I had that strength." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. She was getting help from the last place she expected. "There's one more thing," Emily continued. "My father is destroying all the documents tomorrow morning. If you want to do anything with these recordings, it has to be tonight." "What are you suggesting?" "That we expose everything. There's an important investor meeting tomorrow. If you show up with the evidence, Emily, you could lose everything. Your father, your family, your life as you know it. I've already lost my respect for him, and I'd rather be the daughter of someone who faced the consequences of their actions than someone who destroyed innocent people." Jennifer looked at the young lady with admiration. At 16, Emily was showing more moral courage than most adults. "Are you absolutely sure?" "I am. But we have to be quick. He's already suspicious of you. And if he finds out I took the recordings..." They spent the night listening to the recordings. It was worse than Jennifer had imagined. Richard hadn't just slandered her father. He'd bribed journalists, forged aircraft safety documents, and even paid off key clients to cancel contracts. Her father's voice was on the recordings too. Anthony had confronted Richard in one last attempt to settle things civilly. Richard's response was brutal. "You'll lose everything, Anderson. Your company, your reputation, and in the end, your daughter will see what kind of failure her father really was." Jennifer had to pause the recording to cry. Hearing her father's voice again, knowing these were some of his last lucid words, was devastating. "I'm so sorry," Emily said, crying too. "I'm sorry for what my father did to your family. It's not your fault, but I carry his last name. And now I'll carry the responsibility of exposing everything." The next morning, Jennifer arrived at the hangar knowing it would be her last day. Richard's investigation would surely uncover her real identity very soon. She found Mrs. Patterson earlier than usual, organizing the cleaning supplies with a tense expression. "Good morning, Mrs. Patterson." "Jennifer, dear, I need to tell you something." Barbara looked around nervously. "Richard found out your documents are fake." Jennifer's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "He called me last night, furious. He said you're not who you claim to be and that he's going to confront you this morning." Barbara gripped Jennifer's arm. "Dear, who are you really? What's going on here?" Jennifer looked at the woman who had been kind to her from day one. Barbara deserved the truth. "Mrs. Patterson, my name really is Jennifer. Jennifer Anderson." Barbara blinked several times, processing the information. "Anderson, you're not. You can't be." "I'm Anthony Anderson's daughter." Barbara brought a hand to her chest, clearly shocked. "Good heavens, Anthony's little girl. But what are you doing here? Why did you disguise yourself? To uncover the truth about what Richard did to my father, and to prove he wasn't a criminal like this man told everyone." "Oh, my dear," Barbara hugged Jennifer. "What a dangerous thing you've done. Richard is capable of anything when he feels threatened. I know, but I got the proof I needed. Then leave now before he arrives." "I can't. Today's the investor meeting. It's my only chance to expose everything publicly." "Jennifer, that man could hurt you. He's already hurt everything I loved. Now it's my turn." Barbara cupped Jennifer's face in her hands. "Your father would be proud of the brave woman you've become, but he'd also be worried about your safety. He'd be proud to know I didn't let what they did to him go unanswered." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. At 9 in the morning, Richard arrived at the hangar with a furious expression. Jennifer was cleaning near the entrance when he walked in, accompanied by Jonathan and two men she didn't recognize. "You!" Richard pointed directly at her. "Come here, now." Jennifer approached slowly, trying to stay calm. Around the hangar, other employees stopped their work to watch what was happening. "Your name isn't Jennifer Parker, it's Jennifer Anderson," Richard said loudly so everyone could hear. "Daughter of the late Anthony Anderson, my former competitor." Surprised murmurs echoed through the hangar. Jennifer kept her head high. "That's right," she admitted. "So you admit you came here with fake documents using a fake identity to spy on my company. I came here to uncover the truth about what you did to my father." Richard laughed mockingly. "The truth? The truth is your father was an incompetent who ran his own company into the ground with bad management. And you're a criminal who forged documents. The only criminal here is you," Jennifer shot back, feeling her courage grow. "And I have proof." Richard's face twisted with rage. "Proof? What proof?" Jennifer pulled the flash drive from her pocket and held it up for everyone to see. "Recordings of your conversations plotting to destroy my father's company. Recordings where you admit to bribing journalists, forging documents, and sabotaging contracts." The silence in the hangar was deafening. Richard was pale, staring at the flash drive as if it were a bomb. That's a lie. You fabricated those recordings." "Want us to listen now in front of everyone?" Jennifer challenged. That's when Emily appeared at the entrance of the hangar. She looked at her father with an expression of determination mixed with sadness. "Dad, stop this." "Emily? What are you doing here? You should be at school." "I won't lie for you anymore," Emily said, walking toward Jennifer. "The recordings are real. I'm the one who gave them to her." The shock on Richard's face was complete. "What? Emily, what have you done?" "What I should have done a long time ago. Expose the truth. You don't know what you're saying. You're just a child." "I'm a child who can't stand living with the shame of what my father did," Emily replied firmly. Richard turned to the men accompanying him. "Arrest this woman. She trespassed on my property with fake documents." But the men hesitated. One of them, whom Jennifer recognized as a key investor in the company, addressed her. "Miss Anderson, these recordings you mentioned, do they really exist?" "Yes, sir, they do. And I also have documents proving every crime committed against my family. I'd like to hear those recordings." "No!" Richard exploded. "This woman is a criminal. You can't believe her." "Actually, Richard," the investor said calmly, I know the Anderson family's history very well. Anthony was an honorable man. It always seemed strange to me that he went bankrupt the way he did. Jennifer felt a wave of relief. Finally, someone was willing to listen to the truth. "If you'll allow me," she said, "I'd like to play one of the recordings now." Richard tried to approach, but the other investors blocked him. Jennifer plugged the flash drive into a laptop in the office and turned up the volume. Richard's voice echoed through the hangar. "The plan is working perfectly. The journalists published the story about the safety issues with Anderson's planes, using exactly the false information we prepared. Clients are canceling contracts en masse." Jonathan's voice responded. "And the forged maintenance documents?" "Perfect. When the audit finds these irregularities, his company will lose its operating license." The hangar fell completely silent. Everyone was listening to the full confession of the crimes committed against Anthony Anderson and his company. The recording continued with more sordid details. Specific bribes, amounts paid, names of corrupted individuals. Every word was a stab to Jennifer's heart, but it was also the vindication her father deserved. When the recording ended, Richard was completely pale. Jonathan had discreetly disappeared. The investors looked at Richard with disgust and indignation. That was edited," Richard weakly tried to defend himself. "Dad, stop," Emily said, tears in her eyes. "Own up to what you did." "Mr. Thompson," the lead investor addressed Richard, "consider our contract cancelled, and I'm sure my colleagues will do the same." "Wait, you can't. I can explain." "There's no possible explanation for what we just heard," another investor said. "You deliberately destroyed a respectable company and an honest family." Jennifer turned to the group of investors. "Gentlemen, I didn't come here just to expose the crimes committed against my father. I also came to offer an alternative." They all looked at her curiously. "The Anderson Executive Aviation Company still legally exists. My father never officially closed it, only suspended operations. With the right capital and the right team, it can start again." "And do you have the credentials to manage a company of this scale?" one investor asked. "I have a degree in business administration and grew up learning about aviation from my father. But more importantly, I have integrity, something that was clearly lacking here." The investors exchanged glances, clearly interested. "And what about the assets currently held by Mr. Thompson?" Jennifer smiled for the first time in a long while. "That's the interesting part. During my investigation, I discovered that many of the assets Richard thinks he owns are still legally registered under Anderson Executive Aviation. The transfer was done fraudulently, using forged documents. Richard tried to protest, but his credibility was completely shattered. Specifically," Jennifer continued, "the executive jet in this hangar was never legally transferred. It still belongs to Anderson Executive Aviation. In other words, it still belongs to me." The impact of this revelation was devastating for Richard. He stared at the jet as if seeing a ghost. "That's impossible. I have the documents." "You have documents based on the lies you created," Jennifer replied. "But the original paperwork filed with the proper authorities tells a different story." Dr. Howard appeared at the hangar entrance, carrying a folder of documents. "Jennifer, I brought all the papers you requested." "Thank you, Doctor." Jennifer turned to the investors. "Dr. Howard Miller was my father's physician and close friend. He safeguarded all the original company records." Dr. Howard opened the folder and showed the documents to the investors. Certificates of ownership, aircraft registrations, original contracts, everything proving that Anderson Executive Aviation still legally existed and that Richard had acquired the assets fraudulently. "With this evidence," Jennifer said, "I can not only reclaim what belonged to my father, but also sue Mr. Thompson for all the damages he caused." Richard was in shock. His career, his reputation, everything was crumbling before his eyes. "Emily," he pleaded desperately with his daughter, "you don't understand what you've done. You've destroyed our family." "No, Dad," Emily replied firmly. "You destroyed our family when you chose to be dishonest. I just chose to do the right thing." Mrs. Patterson approached Jennifer, tears of pride in her eyes. "Your father would be so proud of you, young lady. So proud." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. And I want you to know that when Anderson Executive Aviation reopens, you'll have a special place in it." Not as a cleaning supervisor, but as HR director, if you'd like. Barbara began to cry with emotion. You'd do that for me? You were the only person here who treated me with dignity from day one. And my father always said the most important people in a company are those who work every day to keep it running. The investors were impressed by Jennifer's maturity and leadership vision. Miss Anderson, the lead investor said, I'd like to discuss the possibility of investing in the reopening of Anderson Executive Aviation. It would be an honor, sir, but first we have legal matters to settle. Richard made one last desperate move. You can't do this to me. I built an empire. You built a house of lies, Jennifer answered, and now it's collapsing as it should. Emily, please, you're my daughter. Emily stepped closer to her father, but not to comfort him. Dad, I love you, but I can't be an accomplice to your actions anymore. If you truly love me, you'll take responsibility for what you've done and try to make amends. Richard looked around the hangar, realizing he had lost everything. The investors, the employees, and most of all, his own daughter's respect. I never meant for things to go this far, he murmured, finally showing some remorse. But they did, Jennifer said. And now, we all have to face the consequences. Jonathan tried to slip out of the hangar unnoticed, but Dr. Howard intercepted him. Not so fast, Dr. Baker, you also appear in the recordings. Jonathan stopped, realizing he was surrounded too. His involvement in the crimes was completely exposed. Jennifer, Emily approached, what's going to happen to me now? What do you want to happen? I want to learn to be an honest person, like my father should have been. I want to redeem the name I carry. Jennifer looked at the young woman with compassion. Emily had shown more courage and integrity at 16 than many adults do in a lifetime. If you want, you can come work at Anderson when the company reopens, starting from the bottom, learning every aspect of the business the honest way. Really, even after everything my father did. You're not responsible for your father's crimes, and you've shown you can make the right choices, even when they're hard. The investors were eager to discuss the details of Anderson's reopening. Dr. Howard had brought all the necessary documents, and the legal situation was clearer than Jennifer had hoped. Miss Anderson, one of the investors said, based on what we've seen today, we believe Anderson can not only resume operations, but become a leader in the executive aviation market in the United States. With integrity as our core value, Jennifer added. Exactly. Something that's clearly been missing in the market lately. Richard was being escorted out of the hangar by private security hired by the investors. Before leaving, he turned to Jennifer one last time. You may have won today, but this won't bring your father back. Jennifer faced him with dignity. No, it won't, but it will ensure his name is cleared and his memory honored. And that's all I ever wanted. When Richard left, Jennifer felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders. The mission she had started months ago was finally complete. Mrs. Patterson approached again. Jennifer, dear, can I ask you something? Of course, Mrs. Patterson. How did you stay strong all this time, enduring the humiliation, pretending to be someone else? I couldn't have done it. Every time he humiliated me, I remembered my father teaching me that a person's dignity doesn't come from what others think of them, but from what they know about themselves. And I knew I was fighting for the truth. Your father raised a special daughter. He raised a daughter who knows right from wrong. The rest was a consequence. Dr. Howard joined the conversation. Jennifer, I have a confession to make. Your father left me a letter to give you if you ever decided to fight for the company. Jennifer's heart raced. A letter? Dr. Howard pulled a sealed envelope from his pocket. He wrote this in his final days when he was still lucid. He said if you were the person he believed you to be, one day you'd come back for justice. With trembling hands, Jennifer opened the envelope and began to read. My dear Jennifer, if you're reading this letter, it means you've found the courage to fight for the truth. I'm proud of you, even though I likely won't be here to see your victory. Richard Thompson is a man without scruples, but he made one mistake. He underestimated the strength of the Anderson family. We've always known that what truly matters isn't money or power, but integrity and love. You have everything you need to rebuild our company and make it even better than before. But remember, true success isn't measured just by profit, but by the number of lives you positively impact. Hire good people, treat everyone with respect, and never forget that every employee is a family depending on their work to live with dignity. I love you more than words can express, and I know you'll do what's right. With all my love and pride, Dad. Jennifer had to lean on Mrs. Patterson to keep from falling. Tears streamed freely down her face, but they were tears of relief and gratitude. He knew, she murmured. He knew I'd come back. Of course he did, Dr. Howard said softly. He knew his daughter better than anyone. Emily approached hesitantly. Jennifer, can I read the letter? Jennifer handed it to the young lady, who read in silence. When she finished, Emily was crying. What kind of father was Anthony? The best kind, Jennifer replied. The kind who leads by example, who loves unconditionally, and who believes in people's potential. I wish I'd had a father like that. Jennifer looked at Emily with compassion. You can still have the chance to be a different kind of person, to break your family's cycle of dishonesty and start something new. That's what I want more than anything. The investors gathered with Jennifer to discuss next steps. Reopening Anderson Executive Aviation would be a complex process, but everyone was optimistic about the prospects. First, Jennifer said, I want every employee currently working here to know they'll have the opportunity to stay with the company, regardless of whether they worked for Richard. It's not their fault they had a dishonest boss. That's very generous of you, one investor remarked. It's the right thing to do. These people have families to support. Mrs. Patterson was moved again. Jennifer, you truly are Anthony's daughter. You have the same generous heart. Mrs. Patterson, I have a special proposal for you. Go ahead, dear. I want you to be my vice president of operations. You know this hangar better than anyone. You know all the employees, and you have the wisdom that comes from experience. Barbara was speechless. After years working as a cleaning supervisor, she was being asked to become an executive at the company. I don't have a college degree. You have something far more valuable, practical knowledge and integrity. The rest we can teach. From that moment on, everything moved quickly. The lawyers began recovering the assets fraudulently acquired by Richard. The investors formalized their commitments, and Jennifer started planning the reopening of Anderson Executive Aviation. Emily became the company's first intern, determined to learn the business honestly. She moved in with a maternal aunt, choosing not to live with her father, as he faced the legal consequences of his actions. Dr. Howard became the company's medical consultant, helping establish health and safety protocols for employees and clients. And Mrs. Patterson, now Vice President of Operations, became Jennifer's right hand, using her experience and wisdom to help build a company culture based on respect and human dignity. 6 months later, Anderson Executive Aviation officially reopened. The ceremony was emotional, attended by longtime clients lost due to Richard's lies, loyal employees who stayed through the transition, and new partners who believed in Jennifer's vision. In her opening speech, Jennifer addressed the crowd. My father always said a company isn't made of jets or money, but of people. People who work with dedication. People who trust our service, and people who believe it's possible to do business with honesty. Today, Anderson Executive Aviation is reborn with one promise. Never again will dishonesty hurt hard-working families. We will grow, we will thrive, but we will always hold integrity as our core value. The applause was warm and heartfelt. Jennifer looked at the hangar where she'd been humiliated so many times and felt a deep peace. Her father had been vindicated, her family had been restored, and she had proven that good can triumph over evil when we have the courage to fight. Emily approached after the speech. Jennifer, thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for teaching me that even in the darkest places we can find light. What do you mean? If the daughter of the man who destroyed my family can choose to do what's right, it means there's always hope for humanity. Mrs. Patterson joined them, proudly wearing her new executive uniform. Girls, just look how far we've come. from a janitor and a criminal's daughter to executives at a respectable company. It shows it doesn't matter where we come from, Jennifer said, but where we choose to go. 3 years later, Anderson Executive Aviation became the most respected aviation company in the United States. Jennifer implemented scholarship programs for underprivileged youth, created an assistance fund for struggling employees, and partnered with charities to transport supplies free of charge to communities in need. Emily graduated high school with honors and was accepted into one of the country's top universities to study business administration. She continued working at the company during breaks, learning every aspect of the business. Mrs. Patterson became one of the most respected executives in the industry, proving that competence and integrity matter more than degrees or social status. Dr. Howard remained as a consultant, ensuring the company maintained the highest standards of care for its employees and clients. And Jennifer became an example of ethical leadership in the American business world, speaking at universities and conferences about the importance of integrity in business. Richard served 2 years in prison for fraud and had to pay a hefty settlement to the Anderson family. When released, he tried to reconnect with Emily, but she kept her distance, saying she would only forgive him if he showed genuine remorse for his actions. One special afternoon, Jennifer was in her office when Emily walked in with an emotional expression. "Jennifer, my father reached out to me today." "What happened?" "He finally apologized, not just to me, but he wants to apologize to you, too." Jennifer was surprised. After 3 years, Richard was finally showing some remorse. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should hear him out, not necessarily to forgive him, but to give him a chance to try and make amends. What if it's just another manipulation? Then at least you'll know you tried to give him a second chance, and that will say more about your character than his." A week later, Jennifer agreed to meet Richard at a neutral coffee shop. He looked very different, thinner, graying hair, simple clothes. The arrogance was completely gone. "Jennifer," he said as she sat down, "thank you for agreeing to see me." "What do you want, Richard?" "I want to apologize. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know I understand the harm I caused." Jennifer studied him carefully, searching for signs of manipulation, but saw only genuine sorrow. "Why? Why did you destroy my father?" "Out of envy. Your father had everything I wanted, a respected company, a daughter who loved him, the admiration of everyone in the industry. And instead of working to build something like that, I chose to tear down what he had. My father died believing he had failed as a businessman and as a father." "I know." Richard lowered his head. "It haunts me every day. If I could undo it all, but you can't. Actions have permanent consequences." "I know, but I can try to do something to lessen the damage." "How?" Richard pulled an envelope from his pocket. "This is a full confession of everything I did. Names, dates, amounts. You can use it to go after everyone else involved if you want." Jennifer took the envelope, surprised. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I want Emily to be proud to be my daughter again, and because your father didn't deserve what I did to him." Jennifer put the envelope away. "Richard, this doesn't erase the past. I know, but it's a start. And what do you plan to do now?" "I'm going to work with at-risk youth, trying to stop them from making the same wrong choices I did." Jennifer was genuinely surprised. "Volunteer work? It's all I can offer now. All I can. I don't have money or influence anymore, just my experience as an example of what not to do." They sat in silence for a few minutes. "Richard, I'll accept your apology, not for what you did, but for the person you're trying to become." "Thank you. That means more than you know. But I want to make one thing clear. If you hurt Emily again, if you go back to your old ways, there won't be a third chance." "I understand completely." When Jennifer left the coffee shop, she felt a strange sense of relief. She hadn't fully forgiven Richard, but she had given him the chance to redeem himself, and that gave her peace. That night, she visited her father's grave for the first time since reopening the company. She brought fresh flowers and a financial report showing that Anderson Executive Aviation had become the most profitable and respected company in the industry. "Hi, Dad," she said. kneeling beside the headstone. "I came to tell you we did it. The company is better than ever. All employees are treated with dignity and your name has been completely cleared." The wind rustled the cemetery trees as if Anthony was responding. "And Dad, you'd be proud of Emily. She chose to be different from her father. She chose integrity even when it meant losing everything." Jennifer stayed for an hour, telling her father about every employee, every successful project, every life the company had positively impacted. "Your legacy wasn't destroyed, Dad. It was just sleeping, waiting for the right time to come back." As she stood to leave, Jennifer sensed a presence behind her. It was Emily, carrying her own flowers. "I hope you don't mind," Emily said. "I wanted to visit the grave of the man who was the father I wish I'd had." "Of course I don't mind. He'd be happy you came." They placed the flowers together and stood in respectful silence. "Jennifer," Emily finally said, "do you think my father can really change?" "I don't know, but I think he deserves the chance to try. And you deserve the chance to have a father you can be proud of. Thank you for teaching me what integrity means. You already had it inside you. You just needed the courage to let it show." They walked back to the car together, two young women who had learned that the circumstances of birth don't determine a person's character, but the choices we make every day. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story of overcoming and justice. Do you believe Jennifer made the right decision by giving Richard a second chance? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Your support is essential for us to keep bringing you quality content.